So is there like a typical day in the life, because you say about teaching and stuff, or is it because it sounds like you're busy doing a lot of different things? What's like?
Yeah, the teaching thing is so funny. Like I've only been teaching guitar since September.
Nice.
It's only been, I'm 31 years old. I've been playing for almost 25 years. But yet I've only been offering lessons in the last few months. But what's funny is I took on so many students that it's become kind of like, until I go back on the road in April, but it's become like my day job. But yet I don't see it like a day job, because it's still doing something I really enjoy and something I'm good at. It's something I have a gift for. So, and it's really fun to kind of like, pass it along to people. And I have a lot of advanced students who, because for what I charge and for what kind of service I provide, nobody would come to me to learn how to play a G chord or something. It's just not what it's for people who are already, moderately, good players who say, I want to take it to the next level. And they come to me. So at one point I had 92 students on the calendar that I was juggling through all various weeks and time zones. There'd be days where I would do Stockholm, Sao Paulo, Melbourne, San Diego, Thailand. It was like I was doing all these different time zones and like trying to like find time to have lunch for myself, take a shower and sleep. And so it for a while it was a little crazy, like around October, like about a month after I announced it was a little bit too much. But then now I've learned to kind of space people out. So if somebody messages me now for a lesson, I'll say, oh yeah, I'll put you in March, or so
I'm a guitar teacher myself. I teach more G chords, I think, maybe than you do.
Oh yeah.
but it's but yeah, no, I do like it. It is rewarding being able to do what you I think the only time I find it isn't is when, if I know the person's not that interested, then it's like, why? Why?
It's
I'm guessing you probably don't get so much of that because you've got more of a name, and I suppose people come to you going, I've seen this guy, I want to do that.
Right. It's mostly, I haven't really, I would say out of maybe 100 people, maybe there were 2 that were like that, but they weeded themselves out right away. Like there were maybe 2 or 3 people in the very beginning that took one lesson. They had to pay me $100 to do it. They took one lesson and then they like realized like, oh, this is like over my head, or this is more than I really wanted to get into. And then they probably just maybe went to someone in their town, like maybe an in-person lesson, or maybe they just said, or, I remember there was one guy that actually was honest with me. He said, man, I just wanted to meet you. It's what he said. He's like, I just wanted to talk. He said, because he lived in I think he was like in the army or something, and he was stationed somewhere. So he was like, there's no way I can come to one of your gigs because I'm in like the Middle East or something. So, and he just had his laptop, in his barracks, and he was just like, he paid me $100 to just talk about gear and stuff. And so, which was fine. I'm cool with that as well. So, but now it's been several months. So now I have my regulars now. Now it's the people who are like, coming to me every week or every 2 weeks, and we're getting into like real, advanced and modal things and playing over chord changes and all, textures and things. So,
I just hope your teaching isn't quite as fast paced as the playing, because I would not keep up.
Like, hey, no, I do slow things down.
This thing. Like,
yeah. It's funny though. Actually, I was doing a lesson this morning with a guy, and it was through Zoom, and he said he was recording the Zoom call, and he goes, hey, he's like, can you just like, he goes, I want you to slow it down, but can you play it just like full speed so that way I can have it on video? I said, yeah, sure. So whatever line I was showing him, I just blazed on it, and he was like, okay. He set that as his like goal. So yeah, some people do have me play fast just so they can record it and have it. But no, I don't expect people to just like automatically get things at full speed right away. Even my advanced students, because I know I'm that way. If I'm sitting with a guitar player and they show me a lick that I've never done before, just because I have, chops in general, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm going to pick up something more easily than somebody else. You still have to learn and watch what they're doing. And and I respect that. I know that other people, when they come on Zoom, maybe they're a little nervous and stuff, a little tentative. So I try to just, comfort people with that and not be too like aggressive.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you have any students that they've started playing, you gone, oh shit, he's really good?
Oh yeah, I actually have. I have one student. Well, I shouldn't say one. I actually, because over the course of since September that I've been offering lessons, there's been probably 5 or 6 students who are really advanced. But I have one who's a regular every single week, and he's in New Zealand. Wow. And I actually usually when I see that he's on my calendar, I actually set aside maybe 15 or 20 minutes before his lesson to get my own shit together because I know that I have to be like one step ahead of him to justify teaching this guy because he's so good, you know? So it's almost like I have to get like a lesson plan for him. Whereas other students, there's no lesson. It's just, we just free form. But with him, I'm like, okay, I got to get some stuff for him that he doesn't already know, which is a lot. He knows a lot. So yeah, I do have a couple of guys who are scary good, and I have to really be on my game to be able to teach them.
So, okay, so say you just have a lesson in your calendar, and then suddenly you see the person come on Zoom, and it's young Eric. How does that lesson go? If you were to if you were to teach, you know, how do you think that would go? Would you go, oh no, he's really good?
Yeah, no, in those situations, I smile, I enjoy it, and I see myself in the person, and I revel in it. I really like it.
There, yeah.
Yeah, right. And but I think in those situations, what I try to do is I try to focus less because if they already have a lot going for them, I try to just really nitpick on the things that maybe are still a little bit outstanding, still lacking. Like, you know, some people might have chops for days, but their vibrato is a little bit too fast, or maybe not deep enough. Like they have a shallow vibrato, like a little bit, like I call it the Billy Goat vibrato, you know, a little bit too shaky, you know? So yeah, so sometimes we work on that. Or maybe sometimes like, I actually have a student who his chops are amazing, but he still has some like, I help him out with like gear and tone a little bit. Cause like he still maybe does some weird things, like maybe like puts pedals in front of other pedals in a weird way, or like his gear isn't quite dialed in. He's not getting the most out of his equipment and stuff. So yeah, sometimes the lesson just becomes, you just find different avenues to address. Whereas maybe most of my students were sticking with scales, modes, chops, lines, licks. But for some of the more advanced students, it's not so much about that stuff. It's more about how do we take this, you know, to the next, make it more professional. Maybe you talk a little bit more about music business. Maybe you talk about marketing. Maybe you talk about, you know, using your guitars, you know, tone knobs, volume knobs, you know, intonation setups. You just cover things that just, you know, as a teacher, you just look at the whole package and you go, what still needs to be addressed here? What things are still unrefined? You know?
Yeah. I think so going back on, I know how I started. The first thing I said when I talked to you is like, we'll just make it chill. It doesn't have to be too deep on the music side of things. I'm like, the next question I'm going to say, not question, but thing is just so deep on the music side of things, but I don't care because I'm interested. So I had the chance to play one of those Massaad Trinity amps. Have you might have seen them pop up on the Massaad Instagram at Renegade Guitar Company. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah, I've become friends with those guys just online. I haven't visited their shop yet, obviously.
Oh man, you got to come back. It's awesome. Yeah. When you're in the UK, like it's a wicked shop. It's like I've done a couple of videos with them for the YouTube channel. I mean, they're taking a bit of a break at the moment, like COVID and all that. But I remember playing that, and it's like scary good. It's a very cool but anyway, you've achieved guitar oneness because you've got the guitar, you got then the pickups and the amp on the way. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I do have some news. Finally, as of last night, we're going to be launching on the 15th. So any day now.
15th of this month.
Yep, the 50th will be next Tuesday. We're going to be
all stupid. Is for a second I went, what is this month again?
Yeah, I know it's been this. It's so weird, like living in LA, because it's like we're having a bit of a heat wave here. Like it's summer. It's like 90 degrees. It's like summer weather here. So I'm like forgetting like what month is it? Like it doesn't feel like February here. It feels like it's June. So but you're right. Yeah, it's going to be next Tuesday. We're officially launching. We have a great demo video that we shot at this really nice place. Great audio and talking about all the different settings of the amp. And it's officially going to be out next Tuesday. And It's going to be then on the Massaad website with all the specs and everything. And, I've been playing the amp, like anybody who follows my social media. I've been playing the amp for like 2 years now, but now it's officially going to be able to be part of the lineup. It's the blue snakeskin monster. And basically, basically what we did was we took an M0, which is already a cool amp, but we just made it more modern. Like, it's just like the M0 sound, the non like Eric Steckel one, it's got that sort of like Marshall-y meets Soldano-y pissed off thing, right? Which is great. Very, very John Sykes, White Snake kind of tone, which I love. But what I wanted to fuse a little more of that metal influence in there, because I had come from playing diesel amps before Massaad.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, and diesel amps are great. And the thing I liked about the diesels, the diesels didn't have enough mid-range. Like the Massaad mid-range is so great, which is what I love. And the diesels didn't have that. But the diesels had one thing I did really like. They had the bottom. They had that low mid and that bass. So I said to Pierangelo, Pierangelo Massaad, I said, man, can we somehow like combine, can we keep your mids that you're famous for and bring in some of that, like that German thing, that like, that big like Rammstein, diesel thing. And he said, yeah, absolutely. And he built me that blue one. And it was not supposed to be an amp that was going to be for sale. It was going to be just my amp. And then we just started watching social media and we started looking at the comments, and people would always be like, hey man, what mods did you do? Or can I get those mods? So we just realized, okay, you know what? We just got to put this amp out and just be done, put the amp out, make it a model and with my mods. And so finally 2 years later, it's going to be out, and it's really cool.
That is almost as cool as the name of the man himself. Because what's his full name?
God, right?
What's his name?
His full name is Pierangelo Massaad.
That's a cool name.
It is cool. And his son, he has like a 4-year-old son, and his son is Leonardo Massaad, which is like
such a good name.
That's you can't even say that name without going like this.
Yeah, no, that's a proper that's
proper Italian
name. That is way cooler than yeah.
And do you know what Massaad means? It means half beard.
Oh yeah, because Mezza like medium.
Yeah, like medium beard. Okay. Yeah. So it's because I remember it's
weird. Cool now.
Yeah, it's in Italian, Massaad. Yeah, and it's his last name. But I remember this really weird thing happened where before I knew what it translated to, I was in Rome. I was at the Colosseum, literally at the Colosseum with Pierangelo and his son. We were doing like a sightseeing thing of Italy. And my bass player who's Dutch flew in to hang with us because it was like an hour flight, for him, right? So we hung, and it was so weird. He was wearing a shirt that said full beard, and it had a picture of the dude on it, right? And it was the weirdest thing. He comes walking towards us, but he didn't know that Massaad meant half beard. So it was like this weird moment of like, how does this all go? It was just one of those weird coincidental things. And we just we're standing there in front of the Coliseum and with this full beard shirt, and then the guy's name half beard. It was one of those bizarre moments in life that you go, if you tried to set this up, it would never have happened.
There's probably it could only possibly have happened with those two people out of 7 billion.
That's what I meant to say. Exactly. Yeah. It was so random and coincidental that it was like, if you dropped people down on this earth and tried that again, it would never happen. It's just so random.
Yeah.
So,
man.
And that was the day that I found out what Massaad meant, because the Italian guy was standing there going, full beard, half beard, full beard. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Half beard? I didn't understand it. And he goes, my name, Massaad. And I'm like, there you go. So it all kind of came to light for me.
That's awesome. What did you make of Italy?
I had been there many years over the years touring, so this was just another continuation of that. My first time in Italy I was very young. I was you might know some of my background already, but my background was I started with John Mayo on the Blues Breakers. That was my first gig as a 13, 14, and 15-year-old. That was I had like a 2-year run with John as like a sort of a guest guitar player, and then I played on one of his albums. So like touring with John, we toured Europe. So touring with John, I got to see all kinds of stuff. And so I had been to Italy. And as a young kid, I remember like 15 or 16 years old, I was eating at a restaurant across from George Clooney's house in Lake Como, with the helicopter pad on the roof and everything. And it was one of those moments I'm sitting there going, man, you know, only a couple of years ago, I was just playing small pubs in my hometown. And now here I am with, you know, out with John in the tour bus, you know, eating across from George Clooney. So it was like a total, what the fuck kind of moment for me. And it still is, even though I'm 31 now, but even looking back on that, I go, what? So I had been very cultured from an early age because of just my job. I got flown to all these cool countries and all these places and you know, heard different languages and met different people and different customs. And so now at 31, I've been to 29 or 30, I think 29 countries to work. Yeah. And so I've never vacationed in my whole life. You know, my friends, I have some friends here in LA who are not in the music business. They have regular jobs and they go on vacation all the time. And they're always saying to me, like, why don't you go on vacation? And my answer is, I don't really have to. I get to go work, which I love, and see all these amazing places, the Swiss Alps, Amsterdam, Stockholm, you know, Sydney, Australia, you know, the Sydney Harbor.
United Kingdom.
United Kingdom. Yeah, I'll be there in a few weeks, few months. No, I can't wait to be back in London, man. It's been 8 years. 8 years. Wow. So I'm really excited to be back. And I saw that we get like weekly updates, and I saw the ticket sales for London are pretty good already. So
nice. Is it just London, or are you doing any other dates in the UK?
No, there's a couple others, but they're not. Some of the towns I don't know because I haven't been. I think we're doing. Oh man, shit. Southampton.
Okay, it's cool.
Bridport. Doing a place that apparently is pretty cool. Doing a place called Phoenix in Exeter.
Exeter's a really nice place. That's a very it's a very, like, you'll get a good perspective of. It's kind of like a weird, like, it's a city, but it's like it feels a lot older, if you know what I mean. Like it's it's a really really nice place, and it's got some.
Yeah, I've heard people say the club apparently is great. That place called Phoenix. Apparently, people say it's cool. So
I've only been to Exeter once or twice because there's it's funny because it is like a lively place because I think something like 1/10 of the population is students, which sounds bad at first. You think, oh no, like, but it's a lively. I think it's quite a lively place. Yeah, it's a wicked place to go.
Cool. Cool.
So you're like, where in London are you playing? Sorry, I should have checked all this stuff.
No, it's okay. Nels.
Oh, okay. I might know if I saw it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know of it either, obviously, but I checked their schedule, and a lot of people I know, like Eric Gales, has played there. Like people that are sort of similar, have played there, so it's apparently a good place. So
yeah,
it reminds me of. I saw some pictures of it. It reminds me of the Iridium, which is the place we have here in Manhattan that I've played a lot. Which is it's like a jazz blues club, kind of like classy kind of. It reminds me a little bit of that kind of vibe. But I think some of the other venues are more like rock. More like I think the Bridport Arts Center that we're doing. I think. Oh no, wait, no, it's not that one. It's the 1865. I think in Southampton is more of like a
that rings venue. A bell. Yeah,
I think it's more of a venue. Yeah, more of a rock venue.
I'm trying to remember because I'm in Birmingham, which is like Midlands kind of area,
right?
And I'm trying to remember, like, because I play in a few cities across the UK, and I'm just trying to, like, because I'm sure I've emailed some of these different places. I'm trying to be like, what's that one again?
Yeah.
But what was your takeaway from? Don't worry, it doesn't have to be good. But what was your takeaway from the UK last time you came?
Well, I remember we came over for one gig. It was the 100 Club in London, and it was it was 2013 or 14 or something, and it was a long, like, it was a 4-month European tour. We went all over the place, and it was one of those like sprinter van kind of tours, like just lots of driving. And it was most of the gigs were in like mainland Europe, a lot of Germany, Austria, that kind of stuff, Switzerland, Holland. But there was this one gig, and I guess I don't remember. It must have paid well because we went all the way there for one gig, and I think it was like, you know what it was? It was like a festival at the 100 Club. Like it was like all day, cool. Like a blues festival at the 100 Club. So I think the budget was quite high, so we went just for that. I mean, God took the ferry and everything, you know.
Yeah. Well, you can go under. You can go under the sea. You should have done that.
Well, I think on the way back, I think there was some reason. I can't remember the reason why, but I think we did the tunnel on the way back.
Yeah,
30 minutes. It was super fast. Yeah.
Don't feel the need to be sick on the way back.
Yeah, right. But no, I remember it was fun, but we didn't spend enough time to where there was no sightseeing. It was a real quick hit. Because I'm pretty sure we had to go back and do a gig. I think we had to do some gig in Belgium or something like the next day. So,
okay.
So I don't, now I know this trip though to the UK, it will be a lot more. I think there's 6 UK gigs in a row.
I'll find the easiest one. I'm trying to think. London's easy for me. Or easy enough, I'll have to figure out which one. But this is something that I've heard, and I don't know how true this is. It's a cross-cultural thing that just doesn't fly in the US. Apparently, you guys find beans on toast weird, like baked beans.
Oh, okay. I'll give you, since you said I can be honest, I'll give you the straight up. As an American, I would say that UK food and to a certain degree Australian food, even because of the history there.
Yeah.
It never really. It to me, it's kind of like oh God, how do I even say this? I see
You're
it as
not going to offend anyone.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just still trying to. It's the kind of food that like I would never eat like here in America. Like it's like food that's like boiled or like kind of greasy and like it's just not food that like here in LA. People in LA
you can just stop
like
with
really,
it's just not food. Like it's
just not. Yeah, it's just not the stuff that. But here's the thing: a lot of people act like I've heard people say, "Oh, the food is different in the UK." I don't agree with that. If you want to go get a greasy breakfast in America, there's a lot of places you can go. I mean, look at how many fat people are here in America, man. You know what I mean? So it's not like we don't have like greasy breakfast food here. We do. I just don't eat it. Like I just don't. Okay. Yes, I will enjoy a nice, really nice steak and whatever and baked potato, but it's not like that. It's more like that char grilled kind. It's not like a boiled thing or like a super greasy fatty kind. It's more of a lean meat. So yeah, because I've had some. I remember I did a gig in Ireland not too long ago. It was the Rory Gallagher tribute festival in Ballyshannon, Ireland, and it was kick ass, man. It was a great gig. We just flew in just for that because it was a big budget, big festival. There was like, Rory Gallagher's brother was there. It was like a big thing. And I understand that it's not the same as it's not England. I understand that, but the UK
very
food
very similar.
Yeah, the UK food is that same kind of vibe. And I remember the girl who was like kind of showing us around and stuff, like was ordering us like some burgers and stuff. And like, I remember she came over and she was like, okay, so brown sauce or red sauce? And I remember me and my guys were like just on the floor laughing. Like she goes, yeah, that's what we call, I guess, brown sauce. I think it's.
I don't know if you guys even have that.
I think the closest thing we have is this thing called Worcestershire sauce or Worcestershire.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not a bad. We have that as well. Obviously, it's like It's like if you were to mix that. It sounds horrible. It's like if you were to mix that with ketchup, kind of, but like but not. It's like it's like if you were to like water it down a bit. It's a bit more like it's more palatable. Gotcha. It's not just like drinking that straight out of the thing. It's the same deal though. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, they like in the north of England more than the south. I don't know why.
Right. Yeah, and I'm trying to think what else. I mean, yeah, it was the taste of the meat is different. The American meat is like really has that smoky, charred kind of like charcoal-y flavor, and I think in the UK it's just more like boring. It's just it tastes more like it was cooked indoors. Like it tastes more like it's on a pan, not like a grill.
Well, that's because we're civilized here.
There you go. Right, exactly. You're not out in the wild, right? Yeah. What else? The English breakfast. Now I'll tell you a little thing about me personally. I'm one of those guys that I'll stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning and then sleep till noon. I'm that guy. So I'm never even awake for breakfast. So I got this light coming in here. Let me try. There we go. There you go. Yeah. So I am not a breakfast eater really in general, even in my own country. Like today I woke up at 11 and just like had lunch. So the English breakfast, even if I did wake up in time for it, it wouldn't be appetizing to me. It's just I don't know. It just screams unhealthiness, I think,
Yeah, I mean it can be the hangover cure, or it can be the thing that makes your hangover 10 times worse. And
right.
Have you ever had any horrific? I know the typical sort of stereotype, I guess, of the touring musician is that goes out, gets really drunk after the gig, and makes an absolute mess. Or
that was never me.
No, that's good.
No, I keep the a lot of light coming in here.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I keep the for me, when touring for me is a business. It's like one thing that's weird about me compared to a lot of musicians is I think I'm going to sneeze. Hold on.
It's okay.
Yeah, man. Must be that light. I think right when that light hit me,
it does it. To be fair, yeah. Well, we don't get sunlight in the UK, so we never sneeze.
I know. I could never live there because of that. I just couldn't.
It really is quite depressing.
Mood. Yeah, I need this. LA is perfect for me because we actually have sun here. I think we have about 320 sunny days a year, which is almost all of them.
We have like 20.
I know. I could never do it, man. Like even if I fell in love with a girl in the UK and she's like, you have to come here. I don't know, man. I would be too depressed. I just couldn't do it.
It's not great. I'm the same. I feel like it's even in the south of the UK, which is a bit sunnier than the north, not much, but like it's still you don't get much. Like it's
I couldn't do it because I one of my favorite things, like besides playing, one of my hobbies is I'm big into I'm a car guy.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I'm a total BMW M fanboy, and I go up to I live near almost walking distance from my house here is the Angeles National Forest, which is kind of where like a lot of guys like Tosin Abasi goes up there with his like McLaren or whatever, and like a lot of people like Johnny Lieberman takes up his Ferraris and stuff. Like it's kind of the place where all the LA car guys go. And I live kind of nearby, so I go up there a lot, and it's like the sun and the whole thing, and and so it's like. And hiking as well. So sometimes like I'll go up there and even park the car and just get some exercise. So it's part of the culture here in LA. Like the outdoors is so much part of the lifestyle here that I've been here 10 years. So for me, it's like, if I were to like move to a place where this wasn't accessible, I'd feel like probably really down. I'd probably feel like, what am I going to do? Just like watch TV, or like, I wouldn't really know what to do with my day. Yeah. But anyways, getting back to what we're talking about.
No, you're absolutely nailing my bullet points here. You're getting them without me even saying anything. You've flying colors. Yeah. Like I mean, one of my bullet points is literally, I put BMW car guy.
Yeah.
And then I put LA, I also put LA life. So you've 2 in 1, 2 birds with one stone.
2 in 1. Yeah. The car thing, I think, cars and guitars are definitely something that goes hand in hand. And if you look at my taste, at least in the last 5 or 6 years, where I've gotten with my musical taste and my guitar taste with the modern, like very modern boutique, everything I use is modern boutique. I don't play any vintage gear anymore, proudly, because that was a phase of my life that I'm really glad is behind me, because the thing that people won't tell you, the vintage guys won't admit this to you, but it's really true, is like, let's say you walk into a shop and they have 10 68 through 70 Marshall plexis. One of them's going to sound good.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah. Right? And let's say you walk into a shop that has, again, 10 pre-CBS Stratocasters. 2 of them are going to sound good. And maybe one of the 2 is going to need a fret job, a pleck job, the pots are scratchy. It's just, I understand that, like, in this Instagram kind of world we live in, like, I understand that vintage guitars look cool, like, online, and like, it's cool to have a lot of them and be like, oh, I got this collection. I get all that, but I'm glad that I used to try to keep up with those guys, and I'm over it. I'm like, you know what, man, modern gear is quiet, fast, well-made, has good master volumes, good effects loops. The guitar, the frets are smooth. It's kind of like saying, if somebody said, I'm going to give you a car today. I'm going to give you 2 options. You can pick which one you want. I'm going to give you a 1965 Ford Mustang GT Cherry Red stock, or I'm going to give you a 2022 Ferrari SF90 Stradale hybrid. Give me the Ferrari made in 2022.
Yeah, there's something quite romantic about the older one, but it's going to break.
Right. And think about it. The Ferrari's going to have Apple CarPlay, so I can listen to music.
That's
the Ferrari's going to have, it's got hybrid. It's got, I mean, it's relevant. It's relevant. And I think my beef with all the vintage guys is at a certain point, it becomes such a heritage and such a retro thing that it's just not relevant anymore to making music in 2022, you know, like a perfect example was down at the Massaad office where we have all the amps stacked up. A friend of mine recently brought over his 73, I guess it's not really a Plexi at that point, but it's a 73 Super Lead. And we plugged it into the Massaad cabinet, and it was noisy, it was loud, it was unbelievably trebly. It had like no compression, so it was just like, oh, fuck. And it was just not musical. And then we just plugged back in the Massaad, and it was like, ah. Oh, there it is. I can breathe, you know, because it was smooth and sweet and it didn't hurt your ears. The effects loop was dead quiet. So it's kind of like my thing now is like, look, I understand romanticizing the past. I understand that Jimmy Page played bursts and Jeff Beck. I understand that the great players played the old gear, but it's like we have to eventually move forward. And that's why I'm into the BMW M cars. I'm into modern cars, not collecting old muscle cars. And I know people want me to be that guy. People always, anytime they see a picture of the blue M4, I always get some guy who writes, Eric, you should be driving an old Cadillac or an old Mustang. And because they think that because I play rock, that I should be driving an old muscle car. And it's like, no, man, I like modern technology, you know? So there's my rant.
No, you've again, you're nailing the bullet points. So you're fine. You can rant away. The other one this is the shortest. I had the 2 one-word bullet points. One was just blue. You just have a lot of blue stuff, and I was going to ask where does your love for blue come from? Is that anything?
Oh man,
that's such a rubbish question, actually, but it could be a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, depends what your answer is. It's always been my favorite color, and what's weird is I only have one blue guitar, but it's very blue. It's that Shelby with the stripe. But we're actually gonna do something kind of cool. We're gonna do so. With Nags, we've done 2. So I have a signature model with Nags that's ongoing. It's a constant thing. Like people can order any color, whatever. But we also sometimes have done limited edition guitars. So I have this one guitar called Candy, which is like a relic cherry burst.
Seen that, I think.
And then I have this ebony guitar, which is the 3 pickup, you know. So we do these limited runs, which are like even more exclusive than the regular, you know what I mean? So we were recently talking with Nags about what would the 3rd limited run be. And we decided that since the last 2 were retro, Candy was based on a 60 burst, Ebony was based on a 57 Black Beauty. We don't want to go into that whole Gibson retro thing for the 3rd one. So we actually are going to team up with BMW M and we're going to make Steckel guitars, but in the exact BMW M individual paint colors. So like BMW M has like, if you buy a regular BMW, not an M car, like a 320i, you're going to be able to choose from maybe 12 or 15 stock BMW colors, right? But if you buy an M3 or an M4 you're up into that next echelon, you have all these different colors now that are available to you that were not available on the regular cars. So we are going to team up with BMW M and basically copy those paint colors. So they have like frozen Portimao blue, Sao Paulo yellow, frozen black, all these colors that are M colors. Like my car is the frozen Portimao blue. So we're going to just like basically just rip that. We're going to steal that and then do a bunch of limited run Nags, maybe 10 or 11 or 12 Nags, each one in a different BMW M metallic finish. And it'll be a combination thing. So that'll be cool because it's, and then I'll probably take the one that's my car. I'll probably take the blue.
The thing is, you've made a mistake, though, because what you should have done is said to BMW, can we have 10 signature Eric Steckel BMWs?
Yeah, well,
that might have been...
my manager is actually based in Germany, and so what he wants to do is, he already told me, he says, when the guitars come out, we got to basically we have to make an appeal then to BMW and say, listen, man, we gotta get like a BMW endorsement out of this, you know, because you know my M4 is a 2018, and you know, it's getting up there in the miles. I think it's at 69K now, so
that's a lot of driving for 4 years.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I drive it hard, so it's gonna be, once that hits 100, I'm dumping it. So that'll be time for a new one, and I don't really want to spend the money on a new one. I'd love to be able to see if they hook me up. So I don't know, but I'm thinking the same as you. I'm thinking we got to finagle it some way, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The what was I going to say? I had a really good point. This always happens. I get about 3 points, and they rack up, and then
they fire at
something
once.
Else. Yeah, I don't think I can store more than like 1.5 things in my brain at any one time.
It's hard.
I'm starting to realize doing this.
It's hard.
But yeah, there was one thing going. Actually, this is going a bit back. I'm gonna remember some. We're gonna be talking about this other thing, and I'm gonna be thinking about BMWs the whole time. But one thing I was gonna ask actually is, so going completely back to the musical side of things.
Yep.
Obviously you started playing at quite a young age, and I mean even before we're talking like actually playing shows, like actually just holding the instrument and playing. So I've almost got the opposite experience where I played as a kid for a little bit, and then I dropped it. You know, when you're a kid, sometimes you just drop things you're not interested in. If it doesn't really like click with you, you can just. And I was about 10, 11, so I was old enough where like video games were more interesting. You know, if I wasn't really into it. So, and then I picked it up like when I was about 18, and I really just played the shit out of it because I was like, I want to do this now. Which I'm stuck between whether I think. Because I was like, there's always a bit in my mind where it's like, there's like 6 years where I didn't touch a guitar at all. And I kind of think like, would I be better off? But then I kind of also think, well, maybe I would have played it for 4 more years and then stopped. So my question is more, you played from a very young age. Obviously, most people would look at that and go, great, like that's going to make you a brilliant player. But do you think there's anything about that that's maybe like, not necessarily held you back, but maybe just maybe that people don't see as perhaps actually that is more difficult? There are some difficulties to having done it for so long.
That
might just be a no, but you know.
Any difficulties, if there were any, were on the personal side, not the professional. When you're a 9-year-old kid playing blues guitar, there's not a lot of people your age that you can discuss that with. Right. And let's be totally honest. Even at 31, I am just now getting into the age where I can sort of have intelligent conversations with women, even about what I do. Like for a lot of my dating life in my 20s, I almost downplayed my job because it wasn't something that a lot of the girls didn't have anything to say. They didn't know what to talk about in relation to it. So it was like, so to make them comfortable, I tried to, like, when I was around them, be like regular Eric, like non-touring musician version of myself, which is not good because you can't be another version of yourself just to date somebody. So you take what I'm talking about, you go way back with that, right? So let's say you're 13 years old and you're in the 8th grade or whatever it is, and you have all your 8th grade buddies who are into this. This would have been like early 2000s. What are kids doing? We were riding BMX bikes. We were watching. This was before social media, really. We were before iPhones. So yeah, there was no iPhones and no social media. So playing video games, riding dirt bikes, hanging out, playing sports in the street, right? But then I had this other thing that I did, and I remember my friends it was like, oh yeah, Eric, yeah, he does that other thing too that we don't understand. So it was like I had this thing that was too grown up for the kids my age to even begin to comprehend. Like there was literally no, and it wasn't. I tell people this story sometimes, and they go, like adults, they go, well, why couldn't you just explain it to them? It's like you can't explain something to a 13-year-old mind that's never even heard blues before or a rock song, or there's just no. It's not comprehensible to the average 13-year-old, So it was not that like anything. My guitar playing and my musicality, I'm fortunate to have started early because it gave me a head start. it gave me the ability to, at 31 now, have more of a vocabulary on the instrument than maybe someone who started at 21, right? But my personal life was rocky for a while because I couldn't balance this thing of like, do I be fully myself and say, damn the torpedoes, I don't care if I'm a little bit, if it makes me kind of lonely, or I hide that part of myself to be social, to appease everyone and have friends, but then inside I'm kind of like, damn, I want to be more myself, you know? So that was more where the problem was. It was on the social side of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's interesting because the in the sort of relationship side, in terms of like not just the dating side, but just in terms of the friendly relationships, everyone thinks like when you think of touring guitarist, or like even just as a kid, if you're really good at the guitar, everyone thinks like Motley Crue. They think like, you know.
Oh yeah, they think it's like, yeah, it's like they think it's like an enhancement to your life. Like they think it's like, oh man, the skinny guy or whatever who wasn't a football star, who couldn't normally get girls, give him a guitar and all of a sudden he's getting laid like crazy. It's like, you know, that happens maybe like once you're like a little bit older and on the road, but like in school, it's still not like people like I remember in high school, I went to high school in Florida. So the weather wasn't quite as good as California, but pretty good. Like it was still nice out most of the time. So we actually had, the way the school was designed was there was this outdoor courtyard where everybody ate lunch. So we'd go outside and like 4,000 or 5,000, you know, kids in this school, we'd all be in this big courtyard eating, you know, chicken fingers or whatever. Right. And I remember like there'd always be some kid with an acoustic guitar and everybody would say, give it to Eric. He's the token guitar player give it to him. He's the best player or whatever. And so I became a little bit of like, oh, the entertainer, right, of the school. Like, so at lunchtime, people, if they wanted to hear some, you know, Sweet Home Alabama or something, I would be the kid who could play it, right, like the record. Or if they want to hear some Van Halen or some Stevie Ray Vaughan or whatever. But it didn't necessarily make me like suddenly more popular with the girls. You know what I mean? It wasn't, because you know what would happen? This is what people don't understand. The girls would go, they didn't like that the spotlight was off of them. Right. So if you're like the hot cheerleader of a high school and you're used to being the center of attention, and now there's like some fucking skinny kid playing guitar and everybody's crowded around him and they're cheering him on and they're not looking at you, it doesn't really turn her on, it turns her off. And that's the thing that people with this whole 80s like Motley Crue thing of like, oh, as soon as you can play guitar, you're going to be swimming in. Not really, man. I mean, when you get on tour later in life, like once I was like in my 20s and stuff and I was on tour, yeah, things got a little bit more wild, but not in my teen, man. My teen years were not wild, man. They really weren't. They were pretty much, you know, I'd pretty much go to school. And then if a tour was booked, my parents would basically pull me out of school for a month or two and write a letter to the school explaining why I wasn't going to be there. And I'd go and tour. And it was a lot of just, I mean, most of the audience was men because it's, you know, it was blue. Back then it was
I'm in a metal
blues.
band. Like, what do you think I experience?
Yeah. Right. Back then it was, now what's cool is as my sound has developed a little bit more, as my sound has gotten a little more mainstream, the audience is a little bit less like that. I mean, it's still probably 85% male, but it's less than, at least it's not 100% like it used to be. But yeah, it used to be like, you know, when I was playing just straight blues, but my sound isn't really straight blues anymore. There's a lot of other things in there now. So it's opening up the world. But anyways, yeah, the point is, the cliche is not accurate. It's never been accurate. And other players that I know here in LA, they say the same thing. They go, I don't know who created that cliche that guitar instantly gets you laid, because it's like, no, if anything, guitar makes you more lonely because a lot of people don't know how to relate to it, you know, so they don't even know what to talk to you about. So, yeah.
I know the, because I mean, not so much. It's two points. One's more a point that I was just going to make, and one's actually a question. So just remind me that I had two things, because that hopefully will be enough, but we don't know. So yeah, like I mean, I remember in school I was big into like, I was always into rock, but I kind of got more into like metal and like more the, you know, scary metal later,
right.
like not scary, but like Slipknot, which to most people is like oh, don't like that. That's, you know,
right.
And I think people didn't even hate it when I would show them some of the songs. They just didn't understand it, and it's it's not it's weird. I can play people my own music because my music's probably more approachable than something like Slipknot because we have sort of clean vocals and it's a bit more. I don't want to say more melody driven. That really sounds insulting to Slipknot. But like it's just more. It's a bit more accessible basically. People seem to. Most people that I play it to, they're like, I'm not really into metal, but I get it. It's like, oh, cool.
Sure.
That was my point. There's much more than that.
Sure.
But yeah, it is that level of understanding is it's weird that it doesn't, because music's such a universal thing, but actually some of it isn't.
No, it's not. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's musical styles are certainly very divisive, and sounds, and what kind of sounds. I mean, for instance, like the sound of a distorted electric guitar versus the sound of maybe a sequencer or an 808 literally has cultural and ethnic differences. Have you ever seen the one of the greatest comedy skits of all time was the Dave Chappelle skit with John Mayer?
Oh, about dance. Is it
about he went into he went around to different races. Like he went to a black barber shop with John Mayer, and they were like, "Get out of here!" And then he went to like a white boardroom, and then the chicks were taking their tops off. I mean, it's 20 years ago, but
dance so they can't dance at all. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's so the sound, like certain tones and sounds of and choice of instrumentation can literally be what somebody likes or dislikes. I've dated girls. The irony, think about how ironic this is. Me, a professional guitar player, I dated a girl one girl who didn't like the sound of distorted guitar.
Yeah,
so she literally didn't like the sound of the thing that I earned money doing, right? And then there's other people that I've been around who like the sound of an 808 drum and like a sequencer. They're like, oh, I hate that shit. It's so stupid. They want to hear like guitar and real drums. And so it's mostly what I've noticed is it's mostly the sounds that create that love or hate thing with people in the world, and because like a band like Killswitch Engage, I consider that to be like accessible metal. That to me is like, I would consider that more like corporate, smooth, mainstream metal, right? Because of the chorus,
like Bring Me the Horizon, something like that.
There you go, exactly. Because David Bendeth produced them, and he's like totally mainstream production. So, yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, even if you're someone who doesn't like metal, you can listen to that and go like, okay, because the choruses have those melody lines that could be in pop songs.
Yeah, that's what so many people don't realize. Look at us being all smart about music, but that is what so many people don't realize when they listen to metal is you pick up an acoustic guitar and play that chord progression and sing that melody. You're probably not that,
it could be freaking Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, he at the Brit Awards last night did a set with Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, so that's weird. I read, and for me to even say his name was random because I'm not like in that seat. So that's funny how that's another one of those weird things that we were talking about earlier, where it's like, what?
It's not quite as weird, but it is. Yeah.
Not quite as weird, but still weird. But no, you're right. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand too that when in the music business in LA and Nashville, songs get shopped around, right? So like, this happens a little in LA, but a lot in Nashville. There will be people who they're not really musicians; they're just writers, right? Writing teams. So maybe it'll be like 3 guys, 2 girls. And they'll be like a Warner Brothers writing team, and they'll write a song, but they don't write they just write the melody and the chords and the lyrics, but they don't produce the song. They shop it around. So what that means is the song could literally get picked up by like Chris Brown and be an R&B thing, or the song get picked up by Bring Me the Horizon and be a metal thing. It's the same song.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how it's produced, how it's mixed, how it's engineered, how it's approached. And regular people who are not in the music scene don't understand that like a song gets shopped around to everything from like Garth Brooks to Slipknot, and sometimes so that's when
you're going to get a big middle finger from Corey Taylor.
Oh, well, yeah, right. But it's true though. I mean, songs get shopped around, and they really, where they end up. Because I know a guy named Dan Huff, who's one of my favorite guitar players, actually.
He's a very renowned like session player, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, and he in the last like maybe 10, 20 years of his life, he's less of a player and more of a producer. He produced big stuff, Rascal Flatts, Keith Urban, Faith Hill. I mean, big country records. He made millions. But he's an incredible he plays a lot. He plays kind of like what I'm hoping to sound like. He's like my ideal guitar player, like his stuff in the 80s.
I need to show you someone. Remind me at the end. I need to show you a player. Carry on.
Sure.
Sorry.
Great. Yeah, Dan Huff is kind of like my first. When people ask me for my list of influences, it's Dan, then Gary Moore, and then kind of everybody else. But Dan is like, he has that blues metal thing that I like, that I do, but he does it. I mean, I'm not trying to talk down about myself, but he does it with that extra 1% that I don't quite have yet, that I'm working on, But he's faster than I am, and a little bit more of the tapping kind of stuff than I do. But yeah, Dan is great. But he put the guitar away, kind of like he really just became a producer, and now he's like, I've watched interviews on podcasts with him, like long podcasts, like 2-hour things where he talks about Nashville, the way it works, and he says what I'm saying to you, like, songs get shopped around, and you'd be surprised how a song might start and then how it ends up, stylistically. You can take a country song, put some drop C chug through a triple rectifier in there, and all of a sudden you got a metal track.
All right, don't out me, Jesus.
Yeah, it's true though. It's true.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting. Funnily enough, it seems kind of obvious that would happen, but I would never. It never actually occurred to me. So you say the non-musicians don't know. So a lot of the musicians, I would guess, don't know either.
You're right. Probably a lot of musicians don't know. Hey, just one thing I have to mention. I don't know if you were aware of this. I have a lesson that starts in 5 minutes. I told the guy.
Totally
yeah,
cool.
I did tell the guy that I can go over a little bit. So we got about 10 more minutes.
No, that's all. Yeah, no. Honestly, I was just about to say, like, because I never like to overstay my welcome. So that's
gotcha.
That's
no. I just
cool.
remember we didn't discuss the length, so I was like, oh shit, I didn't want to like cut you off, but
no, that's all good. That's all good, man. No, I mean, I do. I mean, it is 5 minutes to midnight here. So.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. It's like getting late there. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I appreciate you hopping on. I might as well do a shout out on the podcast as we're here. One of my old tutors at music college is a massive he's massively into his like session players, like and I have to send you his stuff. He's awesome. Like he does, I think he kind of quite often just covers the solos, but he does them like perfectly. And he's a great. Dan Huff is one that I honestly wouldn't know the name if I hadn't seen him pop it up so much.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll have to send.
It's not a name. Sadly for Dan, it's not a name that is house like. I'll tell you a quick little story about Dan. Dan, when he was out here in LA in the late 80s, he had a band called Giant. And those albums are unbelievably good. That band was so good. But the thing is, they didn't quite, in the 80s in LA, there were so many good bands. I mean, so many good bands that it became more about like, okay, how outrageous do you look? And it was kind of like, the band with the craziest look kind of won, like Motley Crue and stuff. So guys like Dan and his band, yeah, their playing was incredible. Their songs were incredible, the production, but they didn't have that outrageous kind of stage look. They were a bit tame. So they didn't really become one of the bands that really made it. So that's why he left LA, went back to Nashville and started doing country productions, because he just didn't. But I do know one thing though. Dan scared the shit out of people here because I remember a story that Eddie and his guitar tech were driving around on Coldwater Canyon. Eddie Van Halen's house was on Coldwater Canyon Avenue, famous Hollywood Hills neighborhood. And apparently the story that I'm told is they were driving around and the song I'm a Believer from Giant, which was the only song that Giant got airplay with, came on. And there's a solo, there's like an intro solo of just Dan shredding. And Eddie said to his tech, who the fuck is this guy? I have to meet him. So even though Eddie was like the meanest player in the 80s here, he was still going, fuck, who's this guy? Like he was scared of Dan. That's how good Dan was, that he scared Eddie.
I'm going to trade you one very brief story and then we can finish up. So when Nuno Betancourt came to do like a brief talk at the uni we were at, and he was saying about how Eddie Van Halen was his idol and how two things. So one thing was apparently they went on tour with Van Halen.
Yes.
And either way, basically Eddie used to sound check one of Nuno's songs, which I just think.
I remember hearing this.
but the other thing was I remember him saying that he plugged into Eddie's gear, and this is like the holy grail. Like this is the tone holy grail for like 80s rock and metal, and him being so disappointed that he just sounded like himself, which I think is really funny.
Right.
Like not funny as in like hilarious, funny as in like that's
it's
obvious. You should think it should be obvious, but
yeah, I think Eddie Eddie's one of those players. Just to be clear, I'm not comparing myself to Eddie. I'm just saying that there's players like that. I'm one of these players that when I hand people my guitar with my settings and my amp settings, they don't like it. Like certain players get into this thing where they dial in their gear to suit the way their hands work. And then when you hand off your guitar to someone, their hands don't match the way you have your stuff dialed in. And Eddie was one of those guys. Like I remember Nuno was saying that, Eddie had so much gain on tap that it was hard to control it, to tame that. It was just hard to get it clean. And to a certain degree, I'm kind of similar in that one of my guitar students was in town this past few weeks from Canada, and he was playing through my rig, and he was like, oh man, I got to turn the gain down. Like it, because the way I play things, I'm always blocking and I'm always muting so aggressively. I am clamping down so hard on the pickup, on that bridge pickup, to where I'm like, the strings are like grinding against the pickup. And for a lot of players, that's a very strange technique, and they wouldn't make that work. They turn the gain down. So that's the same thing with Eddie. I think he had the amp roaring so much that some guys are like, it's just too much,
Only the greats can handle it. There you go. I compared you to Eddie Van Halen. There you go. You can have that.
Oh, well, thank you. And I purposely said it because I really don't play anything like Eddie and or in that same league. It's just a matter of, the only similarity though was the fact that people, when they play through my rig, they say the same thing. They go, whoa, 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 whoa. I got to turn this game way down. One of my good friends here in town, I have the gain on 10, and he always goes right, and he goes right to 5. He just goes right half, not even just like 10 to 8, 10 to 5, because it's just a lot of players, their technique is not designed for all that squealing and that howling of the pickups screaming. It's not something that a lot of players enjoy. But I do.
Yeah. Well, when me and my friends plug into the same rig, we go, hey, we're both shit. Nice.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I last night I was actually jamming with some friends at some apartment, and it was, none of it was my gear. It was like, some guy had like a Jazz Master into a little like clean Fender Super Champ, like no gain. It was like, and I'm just like, but I enjoy that sometimes, because it gets you back on your game of like, if you only play through expensive guitars and amps, you get a little bit wimpy. You lose your edge. Sometimes it's good to play through something that's really bad. It makes you have to work.
Yeah. There's a life lesson in there somewhere, so that's a good place to leave it, because
there you go.
Someone figure out what that life lesson is. There's an analogy to do with using bad gear, something to do with challenges.
Well, I'll give you a quick analogy that I do use. This is a very American thing to say. Okay. It's a baseball analogy. In baseball, the batters, a lot of times when they're warming up, they'll put the donut on the bat to make it heavy. And then when they go out, then onto the plate, they take the donut off, and the bat now feels mentally to them like it weighs nothing, right? And that to me is the same thing of like, warm up backstage through a shitty guitar, shitty amp, and then go out to your rig and go, wow, holy crap. That's that kind of donut on the bat thing.
So for the English people, that would be the biscuit on the cricket bat.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Cricket.
Yeah. Cricket sucks, so it's fine. Sorry, English people. It's roaring.
No, it's cool. Yeah, well, I think we actually have some cricket clubs here, but they're only in really rich neighborhoods.
Full of really boring people. You don't need cricket in your life. No one does.
Yeah, I've never played it. Never played it.
Don't even bother. Just don't. It's fine. There you go. There we go. That's a more cheerful note. Anyway, thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate you.
No problem, man.
Chatting about all sorts of things. It's good fun.
No problem, man.
Wish you all the best, and I'll catch you soon, man.
You got it, man. Thank you so much, and all the best, man. Talk soon.
Thank you.